Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasting.
All right. You are listening to Castles and Cryptids, where the castles are haunted and the cryptids are cryptic as fuckity fuck. It's just like staring you right in the eyes. And I'm Alanna.
I'm Kelsey.
And we are happy to have you guys back with us here today. Hopefully back. Welcome if you're new. I don't know. Maybe people join a podcast mid podcast or whatever, or start listening from the latest episode, like some crazy people that told And That's Why We Drink, they listened to their episodes backwards until they got to the beginning. Which I'm like, why would you do that?
Oh, that's weird.
Watch their life devolve.
Yeah.
So here you're married and with a kid, and we know everything's gonna go great for you, but we're gonna go back to the beginning where like you're still broken up with Stan or whatever.
Jeez.
Oh my lord.
That's funny.
Yeah, plus like, the audio quality just probably goes down.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
No, I'm not always going to start at number one. Like I might start at a recent one with a title that catches my eye, and then if I like the podcast, I'll probably go back and start.
Then you start at one.
Beginning. Yeah.
Or fairly close to the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty common. Some people do that, but you do you. We're not going to poo-poo how you listen. As long as you keep listening and telling your friend and all the things.
Yeah.
Too funny. Yes, if you like what we do, please rate and review. No.
That rhymed.
I know they used to say it on a podcast that I listen to, but they don't podcast it anymore. So I'm stealing it. So there.
Oh, snap. It's been recycled.
It was on Haunter. I barely know her, but as far as I know, they're on a permanent hiatus.
Jeez.
Mine? No. All the best stolen and influenced from other people. Oh.
It's hard not to pick up stuff. There's only so many combinations of everything that you can do. It's bound to be repeated.
Yeah, there's a lot of shows that end with like keep it weird or like keep it creepy. You know, I'm like, all right, we're gonna say keep it cryptics, and they're cryptics. Anyway,
keep it castles. No.
Oh, how did I fuck up? That was one of the last couple episodes where I was like, where the castles are, and it almost sounded like cunted. You said I thought you were gonna say content.
Oh, I don't even remember that. When was that?
Oh yeah, we were like, we're leaving that all in, and you said that, and so when I was editing, I was like, yes, we are leaving that all in.
I just know for the April Patreon, you went April or something.
Oh my god! Actually, yes, so many times I couldn't say April Patreon
anymore, and then when I was listening to it, I was editing and I was like, oh yeah, how many? Because then later on I went April, back in April.
Hello, welcome to Avril Lavigne.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. Which there's conspiracy theories out about her that she has been replaced by her body double named Megan or some craziness. I can't remember. Celebrity conspiracies, man.
Yeah, we could do a whole episode of just about celebrity conspiracies. There's some
adding it to the list.
Yeah.
Seriously, sorry. Okay. All right, so this is episode 146. She said confidently. We're getting ready for the big 150. If you guys have any ideas, let us know. Maybe we'll come on here, have a guest come on here. Maybe we could do a guess what kind of cryptid BuzzFeed sprout. What is a BuzzFeed sprout?
I was going to say, what are you trying to say? BuzzFeed Sprout.
Buzzsprout is a podcasting app or something. Never mind. I'm having a complete brain fart. Or we do like we guess a list, which I stole that idea from 10ish podcasts because that's what they do is they guess the lists. But sometimes they'll do like top 10 like biggest serial killers or whatever, or like unsolved cases, and like that's so up our alley, right? Like
that'd be hard. There's so many.
That's true. Some of them are tough to guess, and like they'll be like from a list online or whatever, so you can be like, oh, okay, this is ranked by like people per capita, or I don't know. This is a Rolling Stones list of the 10 best movies. No, on different podcasts, but let us know if you want to hear something like that. hear something like that. Oh my god. But what are we talking about today?
It's like I just have my notes entitled May Day because we're like, it's gonna happen in May. So
yes. I called mine Mayday Crimes. We're like, this is a perfect title. This is a perfect topic opportunity, maybe. Oh, happy May and happy late to the game tourist season, and happy soon day after this birthday to my sister Ressa on May the 4th. Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
May the 4th be with you.
What?
I said, may the 4th be with you.
Oh no. It's so funny because she gets like that on her birthday now. And like then my birthday I end up hearing all the Pi Day things. It's so weird how both are like,
oh yeah,
birthdays kind of turned into something almost, but that they weren't.
But not like weird days. Yeah. It's like universally recognized ones, it's not like the calendar where it's like, this is National Pancake Day. It's like
that's true.
It's like an actual like big
they
thing
call it
that
Star
a lot
Wars
of people,
Day. Yeah, but
that a lot of
you're right.
Like, it's more mainstream than like some of the ones on the calendar where every day of the year is a day of something.
Right. The gifts are coming out just as much as the Justin Timberlake NSYNC one is coming out when May is about to start.
Yeah. It's gonna be May. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, no, I don't know if our recording is like when we can, because we're like, it's weekend and we didn't have any time, and I was D&Ding, and then we were running around today, and no place in the city has any of the mead stuff. Pat went yesterday to like 5 different liquor stores, and nobody had Mr. Pink.
Oh jeez, that sucks.
It was crazy. I'm like, I wonder if that's because the one place told me like the warehouse is out. But anyway.
Oh, so they just kind of have left what they had on hand.
Yeah, so none of the stores that usually carry it like had it. He's all, it's the playoffs, so I'm actually gonna have a few drinks or whatever. So that he was on the hunt for it, and so instead he gets some rum, and then I had to be the DD for D&D last night, so he could have his rum and drinks.
That's too many D's.
Yeah, it's true. But it's like we literally drive 1-2 streets over to our friend's place.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's not too far anyway. I don't mind. But yeah, what'd you guys do this weekend? You went to the zoo, you said?
Yeah, today we took my niece to the zoo. That was fun. Yesterday I was working, so less fun.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like fucking gotta get shit done too, because then today we both had to work on podcast things, and
yeah,
god damn it, if we don't grind for you people,
for
what was I
you.
gonna say? You long pause.
I don't know.
You cryptic cuties, you cryptic cuties, you. Go and follow us on social media and like my post with all the cute animals we talked about last week.
It's, yeah, very cute pictures.
Yeah, I finally got pictures to save properly. It wasn't working, and I couldn't get the one of the beautiful oil portrait of Juliana.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't formatting well for the socials, and I was like, come on, I need to show the majestic
It's
dog in all
hard
its glory.
sometimes, even trying to get one that works for the thumbnail or works for on different ones for like the website. It can be hard.
Yeah. Yep, I'm just not that techie, but
Yeah. Neither am I, really.
Oh my gosh.
It's hard.
The struggle is real, y'all. We're still just recording this any which way we know how, and anytime something is like, we're gonna change how you do this, we're like, why? No.
Yeah.
Does everything have to change? We're just trying to podcast for the people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to hear your case. I know nothing. We know flight numbers, I think, of what each other is talking about.
Yeah, I told you what my flight number was to make sure you didn't do it. I didn't even tell you what country it was.
No,
I was
it's
like, it's
1,
really
2,
easy
3.
to remember. Yeah. I was
That's
like,
all
this
I
is the
know.
easiest flight number.
You could be covering that, like, there's a movie that's like The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 or something. I can't remember. I think it's about a train though.
Oh.
Denzel Washington? Question mark?
I
don't
know which one you're talking about, but I have not seen it, so
I love a
don't
good
remember the
plane
name.
train movie though.
Yeah, this, I don't know, it was kind of funny because when I was like looking it up and looking up all the different ones, how many of them were like, this was on an episode of Mayday. And I used to be obsessed with that show when I was younger. I used to tell my parents I was gonna go, and I was actually gonna go through like forensics and everything and study plane crashes. Like, I wanted to be, when I was like 14, I wanted to be a fucking plane crash investigator, which is like insane now that I think about that I ever wanted to do that. But I don't know, that was in my mind for probably almost 10 years, that like that's what I wanted to do. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it like plane crash and then they try to figure out how it happened, and all kind of like CSI, forensic files style or whatever?
Yeah, just investigating it, flight recorders, and going to the scene and all that kind of stuff, which is like, I had no idea how planes worked. Why did I want to do this? It was literally just because I watched so many episodes of Mayday.
But it's so hella interesting to think about, like the black box and shit like that though, right? Where it's like the final moments and all that stuff, and that's your only like clue or whatever.
Sometimes.
So cool.
For sure. Mine does involve
yeah.
Mine does involve a little bit to do with the flight recording that they have. But yeah, it's not really like true crimey. But I thought it was really interesting. Like plane crash, at least, that happened. So this is
right. Well, any of them has like a element of crime, even if it's like, well, this thing was negligently overlooked or something. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But
so it's Japan Airlines Flight 123. I don't know if you've heard of it. I hadn't before, but I guess it had been covered on an episode of Mayday, or at least 2, I think it was. So
well, that's not as famous as like the one with the Netflix series and Malaysian, and we're like,
I don't think this one has any like thing. It might have documentaries about it, but there's no like Netflix one about it. Maybe not yet.
No, I don't think so. It doesn't sound really familiar.
Yeah. It was a domestic passenger flight that was scheduled to fly from Tokyo to Osaka, Japan on August 12th, 1985.
Oh, we went back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it was a 747 plane. It was built and delivered to Japan Airlines. A few years before, so this would be about 11 years before,
Okay.
1974. So,
All right. So it wasn't like super old or super new, which is probably a good thing.
no, it had accumulated a little over, they said, 25,000 flight hours, which is quite a bit.
Do they
I
have like
guess
odometers on planes? It's like just the
I don't really
so many
know how
miles or
they
yeah.
track that, but yeah.
It's got to be more
Um,
high tech now than like an old car or like how our
yeah,
car
the thing
odometers
just
look,
like slowly clicks
clicking
over.
over. It went to 100,000, or like it goes over to the zeros. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So this 747 plane was had a high density seating configuration, so it allowed them to fit a lot more people. So it does have a lot of people on this plane.
Oh, crammed like
And
sardines.
yeah, I didn't really find maps, but I assume it's one of the ones like would have the two side rows and then it would have the middle as well. It's not just the planes.
Yeah,
We have a
two
lot in Canada where
aisle.
it's like the two.
Oh,
Yeah, where it has like a single aisle and then it has just the seats on both sides. I'm
yeah,
pretty
yeah,
sure this
yeah.
had two aisles. Yeah.
Right. So at least like two or three people and then aisle and then probably three people and then aisle and then again or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's
Yeah.
a lot. Um, so
And
the
everybody's
Boeing 7
smoking. No, I don't know because it's 1985.
very true, they're very well. Oh, that'd be awful.
Oh man. It's yeah, that's the only thing that we got rid of that sucked about air travel. Oh, and maybe all the hijackings, I guess.
Yeah.
There was a lot of those.
Yeah. So the Boeing 747 took off on that August 12th day with a total of 524 people on board.
Oh, okay,
That
wow.
included 15 crew members, and it was actually on the fifth of six flights that it was supposed to take that day. And I guess in like
Oh.
reading that, I didn't realize that, like, I figured planes were used like a couple times a day. I didn't realize that sometimes they did like six flights a day. That's crazy to
Well,
me.
yeah, depending how long the flight is. I mean, come on, there's only
Yeah.
24 hours in a literal day. So, yeah, you could do a 2-hour flight a few times. You clean up, you
Yeah.
turn back around. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of crazy to me. I was like, oh, I guess I didn't really think about
Yeah.
that too much.
Yeah, 6 a day seems pretty high.
Yeah, but this was the fifth, so it had already successfully flown like four separate flights that day.
I know,
And
but so had that one I talked about that they all fucking disappeared. And then even the search plane after it disappeared, Flight
oh
19
yeah.
or whatever. But
Yeah,
that was
that
in
was
Bermuda
really
Triangle.
yeah. The crew included a Captain Masami Takahama. He was 49 and he was a veteran pilot, and he was actually training the first officer who was on the
Oh,
flight as well. So he was kind of um, like mentoring him and everything.
right.
And
Okay.
yeah, first officer Yutaka Sasaki, he was 39 and he was training to be a captain. And Flight 123 was one of his final training evaluations. Um, so the actual
Oh,
captain was kind of like monitoring him, but first
right.
officer had it was he was training to be a captain. He wasn't just a regular first officer. So
Okay. So is he
yeah,
like position of co-pilot then, or?
I I don't know. Some different things almost sounded like the captain Takahama was more so like co-pilot and was kind of letting
Okay.
the first officer, because it was one of his last evaluations, to kind of be like, okay, like this is going to be more like you're the captain and I'm going to
Right.
be evaluating you. So But I
Okay.
don't know for sure if that was actually the case.
Right. Okay, but they sound pretty experienced still.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there was a very experienced flight engineer, Hiroshi Fukuda. He was 46. He was described as a veteran engineer. And a lot of them had experience on like Boeing 747s and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so, yeah, like they weren't new or anything like that.
That's good.
And the flight on August 12th, 1985 was around the Japanese holiday Obon, with many people taking yearly trips home or going to resorts. And most of the
Oh.
passengers were Japanese. Uh,
Okay.
I can't remember how many. It was like maybe all but I think about 20 or 30 of them, of like the 500 and some. So,
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
That kind of tracks, I guess. You get some
Yeah.
tourists, but mainly Japanese.
Yeah. Because it's a flight like um, within Japan from one point to another.
Domestic,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So starting, Flight 123 left the gate at the airport and took off from the runway at about 6:12 p.m. They were actually took off about 12 minutes behind schedule from when they were supposed to depart, but most people have been on a plane. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Like,
I was just thinking, like, yeah, totally tracks.
yeah. All it takes is a couple people not showing up, them being
Oh
like,
my
"Oh,
gosh.
we're running out of baggage area. We need to put some more luggage underneath. Who wants to
Everybody has
check a
so
bag?"
much baggage. It's always their fault for slowdowns. Take forever to put it up and take it
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, so they were only 12 minutes behind. Um, so about 12 minutes into their flight, it's 6:24 and they're almost at cruising altitude over Sagami Bay when the plane suffers a rapid decompression. And
Oh.
yeah, just out of nowhere, very unexpected, very early into the flight.
Uh-oh.
And the ceiling around the rear lavatories in the airplane came down, so like fell.
Oh
And
shit.
yeah, it also caused damage to 4 hydraulic lines in the rear of the plane. And it said the cabin crew set their transponder to broadcast a distress signal, like right away. They're only 12 minutes into the flight. And
Oh my God.
yeah,
The scariness of that stuff happening. Like, was
right?
it there was one recently somebody was talking about where the door blew out? The is it the emergency door? It's been kind of I was gonna say talked about in the news. What do I know? I listen to podcasts and then people talk about things that have been in the news. But like, yeah, so scary. Like
Wow.
anything like
Yeah.
that happens midair after you've taken off, and yeah, your asshole's just clenching up, man. You're just hoping for
Yeah.
the best. And I'm
Yeah.
expecting the worst, obviously, because we're talking about it on fucking Mayday crimes. Like,
Right?
oh
Yeah.
no.
So the for like all intents and purposes, the captain is like actual captain. The first mate is
Right.
or first officer is the guy that's like training to be a captain. So that's how I have them kind of
Right.
separated for the rest of this. So the captain Takahama, he contacted the Tokyo Control Area Control Center and declared
Okay.
an emergency, as well as asked or requested to turn around and be able to return to the airport that they had just left. It's only been 12 minutes that they've been flying. He's like, we need to turn around and land there, which they got
Yeah.
approval for. And they were advised to begin their 90-degree right hand turn and head back to the airport. Um, so the airplane started making the right hand bank turn, and it actually ended up like banking far greater than normal. And the captain ordered the first officer to reduce the bank angle. And this is when the aircraft was actually found to not be responding to any of the control wheels being turned. So they like could
Oh.
not actually control the plane.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Well,
very scary.
that's the worst thing I can think of. Just like
Right?
happening at all.
Yeah, this was
Oh,
crazy.
yeah, because one little thing malfunctioning in such a way, can cause a whole plane to come down, even with a skilled
Yeah.
pilot at the helm or whatever.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is basically just imagining you're trying to fly a metal tube and you have basically nothing to steer it with.
Check
It's
engine light comes on, nothing works. It's like, oh my
yeah.
fucking god.
Yeah. So
Okay then.
the crew reported that hydraulic pressure was dropping. Several steering maneuvers that they were trying to attempt were all found to be non-responsive, so nothing's working.
Oh,
And
it's dead in the sky. Like when a
basically,
ship's, yeah, dead in the water. Oh.
the airplane's auxiliary power unit, the APU, the rudder, and a large portion of the vertical stabilizer were missing from the plane. Like, were not
Ah.
responding. And the pilots quickly really realized that the aircraft had become virtually uncontrollable, and Captain Takahama ordered the co-pilot to try and descend the plane, like, towards the ground.
Yeah,
So
just
that's
somehow
literally,
manually working everything. It's like when your car's
yeah,
fucking power steering goes out and you're just trying to strong arm steer, as Pat likes to call it.
yeah, like just
Oh my
trying to
god.
like drift maybe into like the curb or the side of a
Yeah.
highway, something out of
Out of
danger,
oncoming traffic.
but you're in a fucking plane in the sky,
Mm,
like, yeah. It's like
so
so
scary.
scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next length of time is from 6:27 to 6:34. The aircraft turned away from the Pacific Ocean and back towards shore, but only enough to be on a heading northwest. Tokyo Control contacted the crew, so they like contacted the airplane and confirmed that they were declaring, or like asked to confirm if they're declaring an emergency, and asked for the nature of the problems. Um,
Okay. Sorry, I
so
just
they're
like
trying to
nodded and then I was like, shit, I have to talk. She's speechless.
Yeah. Um, they believe at this point that something called hypoxia is believed to have started to set in, and that's when the body
Oh,
is being deprived of oxygen. Um,
right.
because when the control contacted the plane, the pilots actually didn't respond, and the
So they're
cat.
probably knocked out.
Well, they're still conscious, but what's happening is like they're not properly understanding what's going on,
Okay, they're
like
already starting to lose
mentally.
oxygen and shit.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So the captain and first responder repeatedly, in like their contacting of them, they could hear this, were repeatedly asking the flight engineer if hydraulic pressure had been lost.
Hmm.
And then Tokyo Control contacted them again and asked them to descend and try and turn back towards the airport. Only then was the captain able to report that the aircraft was uncontrollable. Like they can't steer it or maneuver it.
Oh, okay, so he was
Yeah.
able to respond again, the captain.
Yeah, at that point, the second time they called.
Oh, okay.
Um so like how I said they had just left the airport and they're being told you need to fly, like make a U-turn and fly back, but they can't steer the plane.
Yeah, nothing's
Like,
working.
yeah, they can't make a U-turn if they can't fucking steer it.
Oh my
Yeah.
fuck. That's awful.
So Tokyo Control asked if they could descend, and the captain replies that they're now descending. Um, and the control kind of asked them, like, do you guys want to head to a different airport? And they said no. Like, they declined that. They wanted to head back to that airport and instead requested to land at the airport they took off from. Part of it said that that was because some of the other airports they were trying to direct them to didn't have like runway space and everything to actually land a 747.
Oh
So
yeah,
that
yeah.
also could have caused problems. So
For
that was
sure.
part of the reason they didn't want to land at a different airport.
Yeah, because they're not scheduled to be coming in
Yeah.
anywhere else right now. Yeah.
The flight data recorder shows that the flight or the airplane was actually not descending, even though the pilots told control that they were beginning their descent. But the plane was actually
Oh.
rising and falling erratically and uncontrollably. So, Yeah, it was just going
Okay.
like up and down. Like, so they don't have control over everything, but the plane is just going up and down. It's crazy.
Ugh.
Yeah.
My face is scrunching. There's a siren outside. It's really adding to the ambiance of I'm like, this is
The urgency.
terrifying.
Oh no.
Right? Yeah, because probably on board there's probably just like alarms going off and like
Yeah.
all this craziness and everyone's probably freaking out. It's going up and down?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Um, there is like they have released the black box recording. It's the last at least 8 minutes of the flight, and you can. It's
Oh,
sad. I did listen to it. You can hear the
oh,
point of impact. And
oh my God.
I meant to go back because like they do crash and everything, and like they're the last words because it's translated from Japanese. Um,
Oh,
I can't remember what it said in like the thing that like they translate it to, but a lot of people in the comments were like, actually, there's like it could be translated as like these three other things. Um, but you
yeah, it's
could
probably
hear
hard to
all the
hear.
alarms going on, and it was like pull up, pull up, pull up,
Oh
which
my
is always what it does.
God.
Yeah. Um,
Ah,
yeah.
that is terrifying. Just because,
Um,
yeah, if people are conscious and talking while this is happening, that's
yeah.
the most horrifying thing to think of that you're gonna go. There's nothing you can
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And these guys, they
Oh,
really do everything they can. It's wild how much they
oh,
figure out that they can do and they try to do. But
really?
yeah. Um, so some of the stuff I didn't really want to type this out myself, because it was a lot of like uh, I don't know, like
Technical
steering,
jargon?
yeah, technical jargon that I like don't understand enough to put in my own words. So this is
And
from
then the thing
Wikipedia.
does the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
So it said from Wikipedia that with the total loss of hydraulic control and non-functional control surfaces, the aircraft entered what's called a phugoid oscillations,
Oh my
lasting about
God.
90 seconds, in which the airspeed decreased as it climbed. So, like when you're driving a car and you go up a hill, like your speed decreases, and then
Mm,
it goes back down, and it will airspeed will increase as it falls. So that's like the up and
right.
down it's starting to do. The rise in airspeed increased the lift over the wings, which resulted in the aircraft climbing and slowing down, and then descending and gaining speed. Almost immediately after the separation of the stabilizer and the rudder at the back, so that would control like left-right movement.
And
Um,
probably keep them from doing the uppy downy
yeah.
thing so hard too. Just
Um,
stabilize you overall.
Yeah, it removed the only means of dampening the yaw, and aircraft began to exhibit Dutch roll. So this is simultaneously yawing right and then banking left. So it's like
Oh,
um the yaw is like when the back end
okay.
is going at like you're basically turning sideways. So the back end is like swinging left or right, like when you're skidding out your car.
Oh, it's literally Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, it's drifting.
Oh.
So like they're
I
they're
kept
literally
thinking
going up and
Tokyo
down.
Drift, Tokyo Plunge, all these horrible
Yeah.
things are coming into my
So they're
head.
going up and down uncontrollably. They're like skidding left and right, and they're also doing Dutch rolls. So they're like the actual like plane is banking left and right. So like the left wing's going up, the right one's
Okay, so not full
going
barrel
down.
over and
Not
over
fully,
and
but it's
over.
going back
Yeah.
and forth.
Oh my
The same
God.
time they're going up and down and then skidding sideways. So like it every
Oh,
direction other than upside down, they're going over and over, and it's oscillating about so it said the yaw was going back left and then banking right. At some points, the banking motion became very pronounced with large arcs of around 50 degrees in cycles of about 12 seconds. So they were going back and forth almost every 12 seconds, which
oh,
is fucking crazy. Yeah.
damn. Excuse
Um,
me.
so, despite the lack of control of the plane, the pilots continued their efforts to steer. And remember, they're suffering hypoxia, so they don't even have proper oxygen. Like at this point, they don't actually properly
Yeah,
understand what's going on. Um,
exactly. Like the way I heard them talk about that on different ones covering that Malaysian one was that like, yeah, it's when it starts to take over, and then eventually that's what knocks you out, and like it can be the thing that just makes it, oh, at least everybody on board was fucking unconscious or whatever.
And the plane was like autopiloting, and those are creepy. So they continue their efforts to steer and maintain the aircraft as best they can for the next 18 minutes using differential engine thrust with minimal success as they try and make their way back towards the airport. Due to the hypoxia at the altitude, the pilots appear to have a hard time understanding the situation as the plane pitched and rolled uncontrollably.
It's got to be like descending overall, at least more than it's going up and down, but it's got to be going mostly down, right? Like
it seems eventually. Flight engineer does end up stating that and they can hear this on their black box, that they should put on their masks that had come down from the ceiling once they had heard from the rear that plane that most of the passengers had actually, their masks had already stopped working. Like most of the passengers, their masks already stopped working.
Oh, they only have so much time in them as well.
I think so, oxygen. Yeah. And like none of the pilots had put theirs on at this point, and though the pilots responded yes to like his suggestion, none of them actually ever did. And they knew this because their voices can always be clearly heard on the cockpit microphone for the duration of the flight. So they know they never actually put on their masks.
Damn it. Secure your own mask first, then help those around you. They're the first ones that should have put it on.
Yeah, they never did, which, so from 6:34 to 6:48, flight engineer responded to multiple calls from Japan Air Tokyo, having just been informed about the inoperative oxygen mask. So they like called them and were like, okay, we've received like word that your oxygen masks aren't working for some of the passengers.
Oh, for some of them.
The flight engineer voiced it says erroneous assumption that the R5 door was broken and informed the company that they were making an emergency descent. But that door wasn't broken. There was no doors broken.
Oh.
Yeah.
Weird.
Japan Air Tokyo asked if they intended to return to Haneda, to which the flight engineer responded that they were making an emergency descent and asked them to continue to monitor the plane, like from outside. And eventually the pilots were able to somewhat stabilize and control the aircraft. They figured this out by adjusting engine thrust and were able to keep like a somewhat steady altitude. So they did correct some of the erratic movements of the plane.
Okay.
Yeah. At 6:40, they lowered the landing gear using the emergency extension system to help dampen some of the erratic movement. With some success, as most of the rolling and the phugoid cycles almost completely stopped. However, lowering the gear also decreased their directional control. So, I mean, yeah, it stopped some of them, like, because they figured out if they changed they could turn and steer by limiting or increasing the engine thrust. So, like, they have two engines on each side, so they figured out, like, oh, if we keep one at this and these two at this, we can sort of turn. And then if we like increase these two and decrease these two, we can turn the other way. So they had figured that out, which was pretty cool. That's basically the only way they could steer.
Sure, and that's got to let them know. They must know they're like fighting a losing battle at this point.
Yeah. It's the aircraft. I know. It's sad. It's very sad. The aircraft continued flying in a loop due to a thrust imbalance from having power settings different on each of the engines in their attempt to steer. They also began descending and slowly turning to the left. Since they were descending, however, the hypoxia symptoms decreased, and the flight crew was better able to communicate with ground control and understand like what kind of situation they were in. I don't know how accurate this would be because it seems like Japanese there's like multiple translations for a lot of stuff, but the one source said that Captain Takahama at this point explained like this may be hopeless, like they may be just flying. Yeah.
Yeah, they gotta be scared.
Yeah. At 6:47, they realized that instead of turning right towards the airport, they were actually turning left towards a mountain terrain. So.
Oh shit.
Yeah. By around 6:50, there's actually a photographer that was on the ground. I don't really know why he was taking pictures. He just saw the plane, I guess, and he took a picture of the plane while it was in the air. And this photograph of the plane is really famous because it actually shows that there was physically pieces of the tail of the plane missing. Like all of their steering controls are missing from the plane. You can see it in the outline.
Oh, well, no wonder. Yeah, if he could visibly see that, I'd be like, I'm taking a
Yeah.
picture of that. That's crazy.
There is pictures in the drive you can see of it, and they've done a lot with their investigations. They've done diagrams and they've like kind of scribbled out what was missing, and it's a lot. It's basically everything in the tail that you would use to steer is gone.
Oh my god.
So yeah, they were left with very little to work with. So 6:48 to 6:55, the aircraft continued heading west and descended to below about 7,000 feet, heading directly towards the mountains. Multiple times over the next few minutes, they increased engine power, causing the aircraft to climb higher in altitude before it would somewhat dip down. But little by little, they were able to climb to 13,000 feet. This was after briefly stalling the aircraft at about 9,000 feet. So they had like a little bit of a problem at one point where it stalled, but they got back to going.
Oh.
Okay. So even though it was going a little bit, like you said, up and down, overall they were climbing. And they did miss, like they were obviously trying to get above the mountain range, and they did miss quite a bit of it. Gordo.
Oh my god.
At 13,000
Quite a
feet.
bit of it is not what you want to hear when it's a plane versus a mountain.
Yeah. At 13,000 feet, the captain again reported that the plane was more uncontrollable to the aircraft controllers on the ground.
The aircraft, they have no control over an aircraft. What an ironic name they have.
Right? They should be like aircraft directors. They just tell you where to go.
I guess
what altitude to climb to.
They're supposed to
Yeah,
control.
fucking yeah.
Yeah.
They're normally referred to as air traffic controllers, I think, in North America.
Okay, right. Yeah.
Yeah. The aircraft started banking abnormally to the right, and an imbalance of differential thrust and flaps added to their role. The nose of the aircraft began to drop, and the flaps or the captain called for the flaps to be retracted. So this should have like helped stabilize them, but an imbalance of power to the engines increased the banking angle, and more power was added in a last attempt to raise the nose. However, it continued in an unrecoverable right-handed descent. Airspeed at this point exceeded like 340 knots or 630 kilometers an hour or 390 miles per hour.
Yeesh.
The pitch leveled out and they stopped descending, with all passengers suddenly experiencing about 3 Gs of upward vertical acceleration. So that's like fucking insane.
Right? Like you go up in those little fighter jet type plane, like Top Gun style things, and their faces are just flapping around. Like, oh my god.
So the crash did occur obviously. They were in the air a total of 46 minutes, 32 of these with minimal control. So, like, kudos to the pilots. They flew an uncontrollable airplane for over half an hour, really.
That took so long. Oh my
It
God, they're
is.
literally low-key. We've been falling for 30 minutes. I'm sorry, I can't
Yeah.
I want to laugh, but it's so
It's
horrible.
crazy. Like, and I'm sure each one of those minutes felt like a lifetime. Like, for all the passengers and all the crew. Like,
Yeah, holy fuck. Screw the barf
flight.
bags. It's probably just
Yeah.
people puking and shitting their pants everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Flight 123 crashed in the area of Mount Takamagahara. Every second letter's an A. It's hard.
Right.
That was about 100 kilometers from Tokyo, and the aircraft broke apart after colliding with multiple mountain ridges, with part of the aircraft flipping onto its back and then exploding. It's like
Ooh,
insane.
just a fireball, yeah.
Yeah. The impact killed all 15 crew and 505 of the 509 passengers, leaving only 4 survivors.
What? There were survivors?
Yeah.
That's
I think I
surprising.
have them later on, like who they were. It was a couple of kids too, which
Ah.
yeah. Getting into kind of the investigation, because this is also really controversial. Like, Japan got a lot of heat for um I guess not so much the investigation, but their kind of rescue efforts, or lack thereof, which is really shitty.
Oh
Um,
no. Yeah, that can be bad too.
yeah, so there was an estimated 20 to 50 passengers who had actually also survived the initial crash, but died over the next
Really?
few hours while waiting rescue, due to their serious injuries.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's not
Um,
good.
No. Later, like you're a little, I think about a year later, a U.S. Air Force stationed at a nearby air base actually reported that they had monitored distress calls, and as soon as the crash had happened, they had prepared a search and rescue operation, and like contacted Japanese authorities and were like, "Hey, we can help you with the search." And Japanese authorities like didn't. They said no. Like, they didn't want their
No.
help. Told them to
Why do
not get
countries
involved.
do that?
I
So bizarre.
don't
It's
know.
just, oh, we can handle it. It's like, really? Can you? Because if you need a rescue attempt and someone else
Yeah.
is offering to help, you should take it.
So, yeah, this U.S. Air Force crew was actually the first to spot the site just 20 minutes after impact happened. So very quickly, while it was still daylight, because it's before 7 p.m., and they actually radioed the location to Japanese Air Base, who sent their own helicopter.
Seriously. So they were like later than the US who got there first.
Right? It's fucking, yeah, it's weird. From Wikipedia, Um, it said that an article in the Pacific Stars and Stripes, released later in 1985, stated that personnel at Yokota were on standby to help with rescue operations, but were never called by the Japanese government.
Yikes.
So another group that could have helped in search and rescue, and they weren't involved.
Oh
A
my God.
JSDF helicopter later spotted the wreck after nightfall, but due to poor visibility and the difficult mountainous terrain, it prevented it from landing at the site.
Oh
And
yeah.
the pilot reported from the air that there was no signs of survivors, which we just said there was 20 to 50 of them.
And you can't really tell a lot from the air
Yeah,
who's dead or who might just be fatally wounded and needs
right?
your assistance.
Yeah. Based on this feedback, the JSDF personnel on the ground did not set out to the site on the night of the crash. Instead, they were dispatched to spend the night at a makeshift village, erecting tents, constructing helicopter landing ramps, and engaging in other preparations about 63 kilometers from the crash site.
What? So they just like
Mm-hmm.
stayed there overnight?
Overnight. Rescue teams set out for the site the following morning. They were there for 12 hours, the survivors were. Like, fuck. Awful.
That is unheard of.
Medical staff later found bodies with injuries suggesting that multiple people had survived the crash only to die from shock, exposure overnight in the mountains, like it's fucking cold, and
Yeah,
injuries that,
wounded.
if tended to earlier, would not have been fatal.
Oh my god. That's so
One
enraging.
doctor, right? One doctor said if the discovery had come 10 hours earlier, we would have found more survivors.
Yeah,
One of
probably.
One of the 4 survivors, an off-duty Japan Airlines Flight purser, Ayumi Ochiai, recounted from her hospital bed that she recalled bright lights and the sound of helicopter rotors shortly after she woke up amid the wreckage, and she could hear the helicopters while she could hear screaming and moaning from the other survivors, and that these sounds gradually died away during the night, which is just
Yeah.
devastating, I think. Like,
Well, when you're gonna triage some people wounded, there's something they have the doctors call the golden hour, where if you don't
yeah,
get to them within that time, yeah, it's like you said, not only the injuries, but the shock and everything else will
and
just
you're
take them
leaving them in
down.
the mountains. Like, from what I
Yeah,
could see, some of the pictures looked like it's almost like it's very steep. It's almost a 45
right.
degree like mountain that they're like on the side of. So like, yeah, I get helicopters couldn't get there, but like, fuck, you could have done
Yeah,
something. Like,
this is crazy.
so the crash of flight 123
Oh,
123
nice. One,
is
four, three.
um yeah, as far as I can tell, it's never been beat. The crash of Flight 123 is the deadliest single aircraft accident in aviation history, which is fucking crazy.
Whoa.
Yeah, the 4 survivors were all female. They were seated on the left side towards the rear of the plane, between rows 54 and 60. They were that Yumi Ochiai, an off duty flight attendant, Hiroko and Mikiko Yoshizaki, a mother and her
Off-duty
8 year.
flight attendant. She's like, I'm
Yeah,
not even supposed to be here.
right.
Like,
Um,
wow.
yeah, the last 2 were a mother and her daughter, her 8-year-old daughter, and then there was Kiko Kawakami, a 12-year-old girl who lost her parents and her sister in the crash. So she was flying with her family.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Investigations concluded that the structural failure was caused by faulty repair by technicians who were repairing a tail strike incident that had occurred on the plane 7 years earlier. So when it
Whoa.
was, I can't remember if it was landing or when it was taking off, but like the tail hit the ground and they replaced some of the parts. But what they did, it
Mhm.
wasn't a proper repair. They had cut some of the pieces in half and attached them as 2 separate pieces that should have been a full piece, and some other stuff. I didn't want to get into the whole
Oh,
thing.
just like a faulty, like a little crappy patch job, kind of.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And then as it was inspected, like all the years, they couldn't really tell it was 2 pieces. So like nobody ever really caught it.
Damn.
Um, sorry, Gordo
What?
just turned his head. He was sitting up, he turned his head and then just like slid down the wall sideways. It was so cute. I wish I had
Like
it
when
on video.
the characters all defeated on TV and they just put their back against the wall and they just slide down in defeat.
Yeah, he just did it. It was so cute. Sorry. It said when the faulty repair eventually failed, it caused a rapid decompression that ripped off a large portion of the tail and caused the loss of all onboard hydraulic systems that disabled the aircraft's flight controls.
Oh, that's
Um,
so much badness.
yeah, I didn't get into it really at all, because there's a whole lot about like the different safety things that they changed, repair things, and inspection things they changed because of Flight 123. So if
Okay.
somebody's interested in that, I guess you can look it up. There's
Well, it's
probably
good to know
9.
they did something, but yeah, it's like I don't need the blow by blow
Yeah.
or whatever.
It also said that they inspected a bunch of aircrafts. I don't know if they were all just in Japan, but when they did it, they
Yeah.
found like 8 other planes that had the same repair thing, and one of them had crashed the year before or something.
Oh.
Um, in a similar type thing where like that section had caused problems or something, but I think it said that like everybody aboard that one survived. I can't quite remember. I didn't really
Oh my
look much into it.
God.
But yeah.
They but must have, because when the two um the two Boeings Max 7, 8s, and 9s that crashed one year after another, whatever, that's what got them taken off the like market completely. And it was before the pandemic. I think the year before, I think it was 2019, they like grounded them all as I was still working
Yeah.
in travel. And then
Yeah.
after that, they were like, people were like, oh no, even if they ever bring those ones back, they had the same defect, and like 2 planes went down, and people were like, I'll never fly on them again or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. I blame you.
It did talk about most of this I think was from Wikipedia. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It said that the Japanese public's confidence in Japan Air, like you just kind of said with like Boeing, took a
Yeah.
dramatic downturn in the wake of this disaster, with passenger numbers on domestic routes dropping by 1/3, uh, which is a lot.
I mean,
Rumors,
yeah.
yeah. Rumors persisted that Boeing had omitted fault to cover up shortcomings in the airline's inspection procedures, thereby
Oh.
protecting the reputation of a major customer. So they thought like it wasn't an original thing because like Boeing handed over the planes to them
Okay.
and they are the ones that did the repair. Japan Airlines. It was not
Oh,
Boeing.
yeah.
Boeing
Right.
did not have this defect. It was a
Okay,
repair done
okay.
by Japan Airlines, but Boeing took responsibility for the crash, not Japan Airlines.
Interesting. Because they're
Yeah.
usually portrayed as the
Mhm.
bad guy.
Yeah, it said that they were wanting to protect the reputation of a major customer.
Huh.
In the months after the crash, domestic air traffic decreased by as much as 25%. And in 1986, for the first time in a decade, fewer passengers boarded Japanese Airlines overseas flights during the New Year period than the previous year. So they like lost a lot of customers.
Yeah.
And
Well,
some of them considered switching to Japan Airlines' major or main competitor, All Nippon Airways, and viewed them as a safer
okay.
alternative.
I think I heard of them, yeah.
Oh,
L
okay,
Nipple Airways? No.
um,
Nipples!
the Nippon.
It's Coco. Nipples, nipples.
Yeah. Japan Airlines. This was from Wikipedia. I didn't really run across it anywhere else. It said that it paid 780 million. What would this be, like yen?
Oh, probably. I don't know.
Um, Compared to like US, that would be $7.6 million to the victims'
Mm.
relatives in the form of condolence money without admitting liability. Because again,
So
Boeing seems to have like
taking the
taken,
hit, yeah.
yeah. So they were like,
7.6 million altogether, was
I
it?
think altogether.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. So they're just like, here, this is like condolence money. They weren't. I don't
Mm.
think they were ordered to pay this money or anything. They did it as a gesture of goodwill, I guess, but
Wow.
I don't think it's enough. Uh,
No.
Not for 700 or like fucking 500 people. That's
Yeah,
nothing.
if it's the biggest one ever, that's crazy.
Yeah. Japan Airline. This is like heartbreaking. Um, well, not this sentence, but the ones that follow. Japan Airlines president Yasumoto Tagagi, he resigned And then
Okay.
in the
Oh.
aftermath of the incident, Hiro Tominaga, the Japanese airlines maintenance manager, he committed suicide.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah,
Okay.
and referenced the accident and said he wanted to atone for it, as did
Well, sorry. Someone else?
Susumu Tajima, an engineer who had inspected and declared the aircraft as flight worthy, whose suicide note also cited work problems, but
Oh
they
my
believe it
God.
also involves. Yeah.
That goes way back with them, though. Have you watched that show Shogun yet or whatever?
No, but yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
they have
like
that practice
Japanese
of
and
like
like Asian culture, it's a lot to do with.
self-suicide. That doesn't make sense. But you know what I mean? Like where they would literally like stab themselves to
Yeah.
death basically in that ceremonial
Yeah. Well, they
I
have a
forget
lot
what
to
they
do
have
with
a
like
Japanese
honor.
word for it. Yeah, it's all about the
Um,
honor, exactly.
yeah.
I'm like, I swear to God, if I have to watch one more person fucking cut themselves, I'm turning this off. It's too Game of Thrones for me. Oh. Gordo, we're almost
I need
done.
a Gordo cam because if you guys could see how squirmy wormy this little boy is, it's so distracting. He just curled like a shrimp and then
Hear
like
him.
inched across the desk like he was doing the worm. And then he just looks at me like, "You're talking about hundreds of people dying? Well, I'm being cute."
Yes, that can be
Like,
hard. Their little dog,
don't
when
look
we
at
were
him.
playing D&D last night, our friend's little dog, Reggie's like, I don't know, a little cockapoo or whatever he is. He's got the little like, curly kind of reddish hair, and he just like
Oh, yeah.
pop his little face up beside mine on the, like on my knee.
Cute.
Hi, what are you doing? Like smiling in my face, and I'd be like, oh, I'm here
Yeah.
trying to purport a freaking museum heist. Can you stop distracting me?
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'm almost done. In the end, Japanese Airlines Boeing and the Japanese government paid substantial compensation to the victims' families.
Okay,
They didn't
right.
say how much, so I'm hoping it was more than that stupid 700 million or 7 million for 500 and some people. Like, ugh.
Yeah, don't know how that shakes out exactly.
Yeah. In compliance with standard procedures, Japanese Airlines retired flight number 123 for their like for that route that they had and
Mm.
changed it to flight 121 and flight 127. And in 2009, I found this a little weird. A little weird.
Oh, okay.
Um Nothing else really talked about it except on most of this information was from Wikipedia, but I found a thing from um it was like some government website. It was like the Flight Association government website that was like lessons learned from incident, and then it had a big write up. I read a bunch of it, but it didn't have really anything that contradicted what Wikipedia said, so I didn't use
No.
a lot of it because it didn't have anything really extra to add to it, I guess. But from Wikipedia, it said that in 2009, stairs with a handrail were installed to facilitate visitors' access to the crash site.
Oh.
And yeah, which I thought was a little weird because I don't really know, but it said on August 12th, 2010, 25 years after the crash, Japan Land Infrastructure Transport and Tourism Manager visited the site to remember the victims, and families of the victims, together with local volunteers group, held an annual memorial gathering every August 12th near the crash site in the Gunma prefecture.
Oh, so maybe because so many people end up going there to honor them or whatever, they just wanted stairs so it's a little bit more
Maybe.
safe.
Yeah,
Huh.
because I'm like, they didn't build, like, as far as I could tell, like a memorial monument type thing, but I guess because you're
Yeah.
dealing with like 500 families that are going up there every year.
Right. If they're gonna do it anyway, you're like, maybe we'll try
Yeah.
and at least give them
Um,
a handrail. Weird, but
I
yeah.
wanted to end it on one thing I thought was maybe a little uplifting I could end it on.
Yeah.
and that was that the captain's daughter, Yoko Takahama, she was a high school student at the time of the crash and her dad dying, and she actually went on to become a Japanese Airlines flight attendant. So
Wow,
obviously
interesting.
didn't harbor like resentment, I guess I'd say. Um
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Maybe it was her way of honoring him. So, some.
Maybe there was, I think, one other thing that talked about somebody becoming involved in Japanese Airlines, but I can't remember who it was. I didn't keep it in. I don't think it was somebody like
Wow.
as directly involved in the crash or anything, but yeah,
Damn.
it was interesting. They yeah, especially like it's the highest death toll, and uh they with them like doing the inspections after they found a number of planes that had similar like defects in them and everything. So
Right. So it could have prevented a lot more in the end.
yeah, absolutely, it definitely could have, because one of them had failed just before this one did, just before or just after. It was like in and around the same time. uh
Oh.
so yeah, it's kind of crazy. um but yeah, kudos to the pilots and everything for figuring out like kind of their only way to even slightly steer the aircraft, and they did keep it. They kept it in the air for over half an hour and
I mean, yeah.
did, it seems like, everything they could to try and recover it. um yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
The the aftermath, I think, is what's gonna stick with me of the way they handled it afterward and
Yeah,
didn't
that's
get out there.
part of the reason I picked it, I'll say, is because
Yeah.
yeah, their choices in like the US being like, hey, we saw the crash site, here's the coordinates, do you want help? And another place being like, do you want help? And then being like, no, we're not gonna go there. And then them sending one
Yeah.
helicopter that's like, oh, there's no survivors or whatever, and then being like, oh, let's not even try, let's just go there in the morning.
Yeah,
Like,
that part reminds me of something else I can't remember, but in the news where a country was like, "No, fuck off, we don't need help," or whatever, and you're just like, "How would you ever refuse
yeah,
help with a rescue?"
because they could have,
Um,
it seems fairly easily, they could have, with their helicopters, even though it seems like the helicopters couldn't have landed like right at the site, they could have
true.
lowered rescuers down and been like,
That's
survey the
true.
area, see if you can hear anybody, because obviously they were screaming in the fucking woods for help. The victims talk about being able to hear
Yeah,
people screaming for hours, so if you had gone on the ground and you would
maybe
have
there's
heard the
something.
people. Like,
Yeah, maybe
you
there's
didn't
something they could
even.
have done on site, like some sort of triage at least.
Yeah. You could have,
Um,
gone basic necessities. You could have tried to protect them from the elements. The people that weren't injured as bad or that you could get to. There's a number of things they could have done that they didn't, and it made the death toll a lot worse than it needed to be.
that's true.
Like, yeah.
It also reminded me of this one I listened to recently, which is why I was trying to pull it up again, on the
Oh,
Doomsday
yeah.
podcast that I listened to. And I guess it was called the Nigeria Airways Disaster of 1991. Or,
Oh.
fuck, wait, no, that's not the most recent one. It was really recent. The what? I'll find it. Don't listen to me. Um, but when you said the afterward part and then like young students and stuff, and I was like, I listened to one where I swear he said that most of the people survived, but the three that died were like three exchange students, and the one of them had
Aw.
actually still been alive after she'd been thrown from the plane, but um, rescue vehicles coming in had actually ran over her. Yeah, yeah,
Oh my god, they
they couldn't
talked about
tell
that
that she was alive.
in here recently in the city, and there
What?
was what was it? It was a cop and somebody. I don't know if it was a car crash or whatever. Or what? There was something. A woman was. I think it was a woman. She was injured, and a cop was like responding to the scene, and they had called an ambulance. And when the ambulance got there, the fucking ambulance ran over the lady and the fucking cop.
Oh my god! No.
Yes. I'm not kidding. It was within this week.
It
was
sounds like a
last
joke,
week
though.
in the city. And I was like,
my
are you
God.
shitting me? And it was like, oh yeah, they were taken to the hospital. Like, they weren't severely injured. It didn't even sound like they had broken bones for being run over, but oh my god.
Like, oops, I just kind of nicked you. Oh, seriously.
Yeah, and she was already
Bad
injured. I can't remember what she was injured from, but it was like, yeah, cops were responding to like a call, an injured woman, and then she fucking got ran over, and so did the cop. And the cop had to go to the hospital too.
No wonder.
Like, oh my god.
The freaking, company I work for was petitioning for the different lights on the tow trucks and stuff so that they see people slow down more. Like they get the blue lights like the cop cars do, because people otherwise will speed by, and like they'll sometimes hurt people. They're just trying to change a tire or whatever. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that happens to people doing tow truck driver is really, really dangerous.
Yeah, that's side of the road. Okay, I did find I knew it was a more recent episode of Doomsday. It was the Asian Airlines disaster of 2013. And
okay.
yeah, I know it's the right one because in this one paragraph he said, and we'll learn about a victim who was killed by her own rescuers twice. So yeah, that's probably the one. And I was horrified to find that out. At least more people survived in that one. Yours, anyway, that was a lot of people.
Yeah, it was crazy. I didn't listen to all the like black box audio, but
oh gosh,
yeah, there was like some stuff. It seems like the pilots kind of knew. There wasn't like much more they could do, and
that's heartbreaking. Yeah, I can't really listen to like 911 calls and stuff. I can listen to people describe the true crime almost like all day, where I'm like, oh yeah, heard it all before, decapitated, whatever. But it's like when you hear the like fear and panic in someone's voice is actually happening to them, that's really hits home.
Yeah, it doesn't bug me as much if you know. Probably it'll be the same for you if you know they survive.
Yes,
but it's the people that died and stuff. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, you have that knowledge. Yeah.
Well,
anyway, that's horrible, and it's not gonna get any better.
No, because that's what this episode is.
Go do what you guys have to do and get ready for round 2.
Yeah.
I'm personally gonna go get another beverage and empty my bladder.
I'm gonna go blow my nose now. I will.
Grab your laptop charger just in case.
I actually do have to grab it. It's giving me warnings.
Oh, all right. Be right back.
Whoa there, Sparkle Farts, my trusty unicorn. I've got to tell these good people about our show. Hey there, I'm CJ, host of Beyond the Rainbow, True Crimes of the LGBTQ+. While I do have episodes on some of the more well-known cases from the LGBTQ community, such as Matthew Shepard, Brandon Tina, and the Orlando Pulse nightclub massacre, I cover world cases like the London nail bombing murders, Australia's Snowtown murders, in South Africa's corrective rape and murder of lesbians. I cover lesser-known cases like the murder of 21-year-old trans man Alex Van Dalsen in Indiana. Police called his death a suicide. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. I tell you about wrongful conviction cases, serial killers, and school shooters. My unicorn and I cover all sorts of crimes against the LGBTQ and crimes by members of the LGBTQ. You don't have to be part of the community to listen. All walks of life are welcome to become Rainbow Warriors, because you matter. And remember, it's not a crime to be gay, unless you're a murderer.
I love that. I didn't have it quite started yet.
Oh no.
Again?
No. It was intentional. I intentionally did it before it started recording.
Oh, Kelsey hit
Yeah.
us with that fucking announcer guy from like wrestling or whatever.
Yeah.
The guy who's like, let's get ready to rumble. But she said record. I liked it. All right. Well, crazy pronunciations aside, I'll just have to decide which one and go with it. Anyway.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes. You end up with multiple, you don't know which one's more accurate. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It do be like that. And what, you took us to Japan, and
Yeah.
you'd think it would be English because I went back to Canada.
Okay, I was gonna say my only hint was you talking about something being French. So
French, yeah. All right, gather round, kids. Today, we're going to learn about the Canadian Pacific Airlines Flight 108 tragedy,
108.
disaster. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we both had one with in the hundreds.
Yeah.
And it was tempting to do something big like MH370, but I was like, literally, Netflix documentary. Talked about how
That's the
Sinisterhood has a
thing.
good episode on it. I'm like, I don't need to do it.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, those ones are
hard.
kind of, yeah, like there's a lot of fascinating ones where like they're missing, they don't know what happened to them, that kind of thing. But yeah, this one's more straight up crime. So let's
Okay.
just get that out of the way.
I did run when I was looking for mine. I looked up just like plane crashes, and I ended up on a Wikipedia article that had a breakdown of plane crashes around the world by year, going back to like
Ooh.
1920 or whatever. And
Holy
it's
shit.
absolutely insane how many fucking airplane crashes there are. It
Wow,
was
that's
like
a dark rabbit hole. Yeah.
it was like hundreds every
Oh.
single year up
Oh.
until like, I don't know, 1980, when like each year, basically until
Really?
1980, when it went to below like 200 a year. But like some years it was like 390 airplane crashes. You're like, holy fuck, like this is awful.
Yeah,
It's
and they
like death
can't all
tolls
be like
5,000 people a year. I'm like, oh my
right. Well, then
god.
if they were all like super deadly, then we'd probably hear about it. But
Yeah, it was a lot
it's
of
a lot.
hijackings, bombings, and then all the
Oh,
malfunctions.
so many
And
hijackings at the beginning of aviation.
yeah, um, it was a
I
lot.
mean,
I was just like, oh my god.
some of the
At
more
that point,
interesting stuff, like one the night classy girls, one of them covered how much money goes into like the the security,
oh, yeah.
what am I talking about? You know, the ones you have to go through at the airport. And the name I
Oh,
should
like
know.
TSA, those
Like
people?
customs, yeah, TSA,
Mm.
all the security, extra security that you go through now getting onto the plane, and how little
Wow.
it actually works, which was sadly like
Oh, jeez.
disgusting. You're like, okay, so it's good that they like don't let you get on with things that look like bombs anymore, and knives and guns and stuff, but at the same time, like, putting people through all the bullshit of, like, not being able to carry stuff over 100 milliliters, you know, like, and taking your fucking
Yeah.
shoes off, and, like, how much does it actually prevent versus what it costs us? And it was, like, astronomical. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
great. And she was like, and basically, like, they did experiments to, like, see what they could get past the TSA and stuff. And it was, like, a shit ton. And I was like, great.
It's probably, I think, more so maybe a deterrent, like psychological deterrent,
Yeah.
than it is like an actual security measure.
Yeah, because sometimes it's just stupid. Like, sometimes it's like, oh, then my kid has to go get rid of her stupid Swiss Army knife because she forgot that she carries it
Or
everywhere and she
fucking
can't bring it on
nail
the plane.
clippers.
Or nail
Like,
clippers. Oh my god. Yes, on the way home on that very same trip, we got questioned about having scissors, and we had brought them with us, and nobody had said anything on the way down.
yeah, right?
That was just to my mom's house. It's like within Canada. It's like, anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, so this is in Canada, and the French name of the place that it occurred was the one that I was like, I don't know how to say that because,
Oh.
well, it's like, you know, the place that's like in Canada is pronounced like Sault Ste. Marie, but it's basically spelled like Sault Ste. Marie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's like we pronounce it way different, like when we're the English speakers. So it could be the Sue au cochon tragedy, or when I just looked up the pronunciation, they were like, so au cochon? Cochon? I don't know, it was like different. I was like, okay, whatever. We're just gonna
Not
have to call it
croissant,
that.
but it sounds.
No, it's spelled more like the French word for pig, cochon.
Oh.
So anyway, it's not important that we like say the place name at all,
Too
because that was
often.
just like
Yeah.
the specific spot of the
Oh, okay.
thing. But so it is also back in the 1900s. Is that a thing we say now?
Back in olden times.
Yeah, it's before the 2000, and mine's even before yours. It's in September of
Oh.
1949.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I know. The 40s. Canadian Pacific Airline flight that came, it was a Canadian Pacific Airline flight that came to a tragic end not even 20 minutes after it left the runway, causing one of the worst air disasters in Canadian history.
Jeez.
Yay! One of those ones that, like that Empress one I was talking about, that apparently like had more deaths than the Titanic, but you know, doesn't get as much coverage or whatever.
Yeah.
Or like, I'd never heard of yours, and it's like one of the most deaths or whatever you said. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. It is the most deaths. It's never been topped. The most deaths in
That's
any
insane.
single aircraft crash. So like the ones where
Right.
there was one where two planes collided on a runway at an airport, and that has a higher death
Oh,
toll, but that's
yeah.
a two plane. This is a single plane.
That exactly
So,
right. Yeah, the two plane crashes are definitely higher, but
yeah.
or could be for sure. Okay, so in this one, the passengers were, yeah, mostly Canadian, as you might expect, just as yours were mostly
Yeah.
Japanese.
So it's a domestic flight then, like within Canada, or it's flying maybe to the
Yeah.
US? Okay.
No, it's domestic.
Okay.
It was mostly families and mothers, like it included families, mothers with small children, and yeah, basically, I think all were Canadian except for these three prominent American businessmen.
Okay.
So, yeah, just a lot of not goodness. Let's get into
No.
it.
Ugh.
Oh, I know. This one's just a doozy. I don't even know what else to say. So, September 9th of 1949. Is, right? It's just like, what is it, Family Guy or Simpsons, where they're just doing a rally and all they're saying to get the Americans rallied up is 9/11, just over and over again.
Yeah.
Which is like, I don't know. I do find it kind of funny, I have to say. I'm sorry. I know it was very tragic. Either way.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one's not a great one, but yeah, it was old timey. Just past the hijacking era, I guess. 'Twas a lovely clear autumn day in the Charlevoix region of the province of Quebec. This area has a unique history that helped shape the geography and even the depth of the Great St. Lawrence River there, which I thought was kind of interesting. She talked about it a little bit on I listened to the Canadian True Crime podcast episode she had about it. The one with she lives in Canada, but she's got an Australian accent. So I love hearing her pronounce she like moved here from Australia, so it's cute whenever she pronounces stuff, and I'm like, you say it like Alberta. But yeah, so she talked about how it was like shaped and stuff, so I was like, oh, I kind of want to talk about that because it was hit by a big old meteorite back in the day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's called the Charlevoix impact structure, and it's a large eroded meteorite impact structure in the region. So it just made this like big crater, I guess, partially over the river, and it made areas like that area of the river is obviously super deep because it was like a big old crater.
Oh, jeez, that's cool.
Yeah, it's cool, and it's a little bit relevant too. So you'll see. It was like a fuck ton of time ago. I think it said between 20 to 450 million years.
Is that the scientific measurement? A fuck ton?
It had the 20 and then like almost like a little dash, but kind of like a weird looking dash, and then the 450 million, and I was like, I guess that's just the range?
I don't know.
They're like,
it's gone a fuck ton ago.
Long time ago. long ago. Yes. And it was like a stony meteorite that was probably 2 kilometers in diameter, they figure, and 15 billion tons.
Jeez. 2 kilometers in diameter is huge.
It was a big old rock.
Yeah.
So it's a crater, but also kind of a relatively flattish area that's snuggled in and surrounded by the craggy Laurentian Mountains. Yeah. So that's where we're at. Flight 108 was traveling to a place called Bay Como, and a woman dressed elegantly in black that day had grabbed a cab to take her to the airport shortly before the flight. The taxi driver said she was a little bit annoying. Kind of like that she made the ride miserable because she was like, don't drive too fast, it's a fragile parcel, and careful of the bumps.
Okay, I can see where this is going.
It's clear. Yes, she went there to quickly drop off a parcel to be put on board just as the flight was due to take off. 'Twas a small but rather heavy box that the airline agent was normally supposed to be checking for its contents, and due to the time constraint the flight was supposed to take off, it wasn't checked.
Oh my god. No, negligence!
Right?
Ugh.
Yeah, clearly this was an oversight that was gonna cost
if anything you
something.
needed to check on that day, it's the last minute. They teach you that in it when I worked in insurance. They teach you that in my job now. It's the customers that come in at the end that you most have to look out for because they're waiting because they know you just want to go home and you're not paying attention,
totally.
and you don't want to drag anything out or confront anybody because at the end of the day.
or just you're distracted.
Yeah,
One
they're
time I
trying to
remember
run
there
out
was
the
a
clock.
there was a couple people that were standing at my desk, and I was gonna check out some sort of travel accessories, but then some of them were walking back and forth between my desk and the accessories area, and then like later on, I remember the inventory for the night or whatever the hell it was. They were like, "Oh yeah, we look like we're missing something," and I was like, "What the fuck?" They were all chatting at me and just like distracting me.
Yep. So if anything you need to check, it's the last one. One more thing. Oh, this is late.
Well, we're much more on the lookout for scammers now, I would say.
Then what did you say in 1949?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So unfortunately, just 16 minutes after takeoff, an explosion erupted from the luggage area.
Damn.
And the plane, a DCS, quickly lost altitude and crashed about 65 kilometers east of Quebec City. Jeez. I just got right to it.
Yeah, boom, it was in the air and now it's on the ground. Wow.
I was like, wow, you're stayed up there for a while. At least mine was, it was pretty quick, and I just wanted to get to how it went down pretty quick because everybody else was just as shocked. It was just a shock.
Yeah.
So it is a smaller, flight at the time. Probably is one of those two-seater, one aisle, whatever, like smaller planes. But it did kill, unfortunately, all 23 people on board.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, explosions are a totally different like ball game for planes. It's
yeah. It's a end game for sure. But once the wreckage was being examined, they were able to find remnants of what looked like dynamite and also pieces of an alarm clock.
Okay, yeah.
In among the bodies. But yeah. Then that's how they initially knew it was definitely a crime and not any sort of like accidental fire that caused, something to explode or whatever.
Yeah. They're like, normal people don't pack dynamite and alarm clocks.
Yeah.
In their suitcases.
We tend to frown on that now.
I did run across one. I don't think it had a whole lot of information about it, but it was part of, I guess, the Unabomber case, and it said he had put a bomb on a plane, and it actually like failed to go off, I guess, and it ended up on one of the lists I was looking at. And
interesting.
I didn't click into like the Wikipedia page, but they're like, yeah, it was the Unabomber like put one on a plane, and he wasn't even on the plane. It got on the plane, and
he that guy. It was a very much like mailed to you on your doorstep. He was never
certain targets and stuff, but it said it like failed to go off, and they found it. I can't remember how they found it. If they found it during the flight or they found it like after it landed because he didn't pick it up and like nobody claimed it or something. I can't quite remember.
Yeah. Like when I hear Unabomber, I always think that it's someone that like took down a plane or something because that's what it sounds like.
But yeah, but he was just.
I think it came from like universities that he sent it to or something.
Yeah, he was like anti-establishment, technology, government, all those things.
Oh yeah. He like lived out in the woods or something off the grid too. So now the lookout was on, and soon like a
excuse you?
It's
Hi,
late,
baby.
Gordo, but it's not supper time.
I'm not jumping up this way.
So they're on the lookout for anyone with info on what was just described as the woman in black. Right. But who the press eventually nicknamed. Yeah, I guess she might have had the nickname before, but they called her Madame de Corbeau, which meant like Madame Raven, I guess.
Ooh.
I know, right?
What a cool name. I mean, I hate her, but that's a cool name.
Yeah,
Madame
yeah,
Raven.
What is that new Marvel movie? Isn't there like a Madam Web or something?
Yeah.
So through investigations, interviews with the taxi driver and witnesses, they were able to track down the name of the mystery woman. She was called Marguerite Petre Roost. It's a
The
hyphenated
rooster?
name. Yeah, it might be. I do know that the first part, the Petra part, is. I was like, I think that our name Peters used to come from the French version. Like that was Petra, and I think I told you before that I found out that it actually means clown, which is kind of.
Oh, I don't remember you telling me that before.
I just yeah, I remember hearing it once or twice and was like, huh, I think that's what our name used to be anyway. So yeah, old relation of mine. Who knows? I got some French in my
Damn.
background. I'm from Eastern Canada, so you never know. But
maybe this is your grandma.
Oh my god! I hope
Can you
not.
imagine? Alanna's life becomes a true crime case.
Oh my gosh!
She's the granddaughter of Madame Raven.
No, but we had that brush with true crime when I was younger because our dog was out being walked by our friend Billy Joe, and she did sniff up a bag with bones in it, and that was probably my first.
Really?
I'm surprised that
I didn't know
turn
that
me into a
either.
true crime junkie. I've mentioned that one, but I don't know a lot about the case. I don't think it ever got solved. It was back in New Brunswick.
Oh, I don't remember that.
It's almost like it's too close to anyway. Yeah, the dog did. Our dog Lucy, our little dog Lucy, who I'd be like, oh, let's call her Lucifer, and then Mom's like, well, that means something. But yeah, our friend Billy Joe, he was really scared because he was watching her in the house for us because we were out of town or something, and then he was sleeping with a knife by his pillow. It's just freaked out that she found a skeleton just off the walking trail, not too far.
Damn.
Really weird. Really, really weird. And that's my only story. Okay. It was remember we were on Creepy Confidential? She's like, do you have any ghost stories? I'm like, no. I wish. I was like, I heard one from someone. Here, let me tell one I heard from Pat or whatever. So Marguerite Petre Roost or whatever owned a boarding house, and she had worked at a place called the Arsenal, and worked with a man called J. Albert Gay. I think it was she said the last name was pronounced Gay, and it's spelled Guay. So I don't know if that's just more of a French pronunciation.
Oh, you know how sometimes they use guy, guy will be somebody's name, but I think that's still spelled guy.
Right, and the French, if it was spelled Guy and they were French, it would be pronounced Guy. Yeah. Technically. So I don't know, it's very confusing. He's got a weird name. Just go with it. So she was a bit older than him, but they're whatever, maybe 9 years or so, but that doesn't matter. You can still be friends. Just that's a few years. So do the Sinisterhood girls have a few years between them. It doesn't matter. I'm friends with the lady at my work that's my mom's age, and sometimes we joke that we're she's like my work mom.
I know, I have work moms. I've had a work mom at every job.
I love that. We became work sisters. Oh.
Yeah, you're not my work mom. You weren't my work mom when we worked together.
Oh gosh, I'm barely qualified to be my own kid's mom.
I'm not accepting any more.
Well, I do work with some people that are very independent. People that are only children and stuff like that. They can be very, very independent and good at momming other people.
Yeah.
And so was their relationship a little bit maternal almost? So
okay.
She kind of saw him in almost a maternal way, and I guess just thought he was kind of charming and a little bit, not really rich, but like, I don't know, upscale.
Not rich, no.
Yeah, and she was like, "Oh, I'm just a plain old lady, and you old lady. Oh my god, he's like 30 fucking one." She's like, "You're paying attention to me." I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so J. Albert. Wait, yes, we'll get into his stupid name. He was a draft dodger of sorts. He took a draft deferment, they called it, I guess. We didn't have to go to the war. I don't know how that works. I thought you could be like a conscious dissenter, and I thought you could be like a draft dodger and be like in hiding. I wasn't really sure.
I didn't know there was a defer thing.
Yeah, I don't know how like that works, but anyway, he'd been, maybe because then he ends up working at the arsenal making like munitions and stuff for the war, so then he ends up working there, and maybe that's how you get out of it. I don't know.
You're like still somewhat involved.
Right, you're working with all the women and they stepped up. So now they're like friends, and they occasionally do each other a favor here and there. So it's definitely no biggie when he asked if she could pick up a parcel that his wife forgotten to pack for her trip and go put it at the airport for her or whatever. So
okay. But she knew to like drive carefully? That's weird.
Yes, he said it was just like something his wife had forgotten to pack, and she said she believed that all that was in there was a fragile statuette, but she didn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was like, why else would she be so weird to the cabbie? Like,
yeah, I'm kind of keeping some of the cards up my sleeve. I'm just trying to lay it out as the cops have to figure it out all piece by piece.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do need to know a little bit more about this guy who was born Joseph Albert Gay, or however we're saying his last name. We're saying Gay. We're saying it. He's gay.
He's Mr. Gay.
He's Mr. Gay. He was born on September 23rd was the first thing I read, but then a couple of sources said the 22nd, so I don't know. But he was born in a place called Charnay, Quebec, and he had gone by his second name, apparently in the traditional French fashion when you have the hyphenated first name. Like instead of going by Joseph, he went by Albert. Which is a Frenchy way to say Albert. But eventually he decided to change it up. He zhuzhed it up a bit and decided to go by J. Albert. Because, who's fancier than someone with a, what are they called? Initial in their name.
Yeah.
J.R.R. Tolkien. He was the youngest of 5 children, so maybe he just needed to stand out a little. Apparently, tragically, at age 5, his father died in a railroad accident, and the family moved to a suburb of Quebec City.
Okay.
Yeah. He later met a nice lady with apparent big brown eyes. Oh. Her name was Rita Morel, and he settles down with her and marries her in August of 1941.
Okay.
So while working at the Arsenal, he met Marguerite and also her brother and became friends with them. I wrote Marguerite. Marguerite likes that he has charms and some status and pays attention to her because she is not the prom queen type. Ouch.
Oh, burn.
Well, you know how some people use even meaner adjectives where they're like, she was dumpy, and you're like, okay. And then he also might have gotten into his watch selling business through the brother who was a watchmaker. Anyway, he starts selling those on the side while he's still working full-time at the Arsenal. But the most important person he met through his friend Marguerite was a server, I think at a diner at or near her boarding house. I'm not too sure. It depends. The sources are a little foggy on that.
Yeah.
But he took an instant liking to her, and her name was Marie-Ange Robitaille.
Robitussin. No.
Yes.
But that cough medication.
Yeah. It's the one that tastes awful, but it works? I don't know.
I thought that was Buckley's.
Oh, that's
It tastes awful,
Buckley's.
but it works.
Oh, yeah. Robitussin has some other stupid slogan.
Yeah.
Marie-Ange was beautiful, so it's not a shock that he found her attractive. But it was, of course, a bit too much of a liking from him to be appropriate, especially since it ended up that she was only 17.
Oh.
Just to add that to the fact of everything we else know that he's already married, and she lied and said she was 19, but you can probably see where this is all going to.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was all extremely unfortunate, especially since, he was still married. Like I said, they had even had a daughter together, him and his wife, in 1945. To which I, mused to myself, can we say midlife crisis? And then I went, he's literally, young 30s.
Yeah, that's like pre-midlife crisis.
But he might have died at 60-some. Who knows? It was the 40s, the late 40s.
Maybe that was the original time frame for midlife crisis, the 30s. Instead of the 50s or 60s. Yeah.
But apparently, or some sources said he initially told her he's a successful businessman and bachelor.
Okay, so they're just lying to each other.
Well, either way, most things said that she found out pretty soon, or she knew right away that he was married, and didn't really care. But yeah, they just start seeing each other on the sly, and gets to the point where he goes over to meet her parents, but they just call him a different name.
And the parents don't say anything?
Yeah, funny they didn't, who's this guy who's you called him this name, but where do you know him from? School?
Yeah, but people also had kids younger. So, very well, he was probably only a little bit younger than her parents.
That's true.
Right?
They could have been in their early 40s, and he's 10 years younger than them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Not gonna dispute that part. And of course, it's the whole tale as old as time. He tells her, I'm married, but
leave
I'm gonna leave my wife.
Blah, blah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really love her. Blah, blah, blah. Starts bringing her on sales trips, introduces her as his wife on those trips.
Oh, damn.
Gives her a ring, but probably one that he just has lying around the jewelry shop. Because I said he sells jewelry, right? I feel like that line was supposed to be in there. I couldn't remember. Yeah, he was selling jewelry door to door on it, and also working at the Arsenal. That's right. Rita's not having a good time. Meanwhile, the couple have just been having the worst luck of late. So she doesn't know about this, but his shop burnt down, and then her car burst into flames. So suddenly it left the mechanic that was working on it badly burned.
Oh my god.
All this crazy stuff keeps happening around her.
You're just changing a tire, suddenly the car bursts into flames.
Right? And the mechanic got hurt. It's so fucked up.
Damn. That's crazy.
Yeah. So she finds out about the affair and is very upset and confronts and tells Marie-Ange's parents about it right away. So they find out and they go ballistic, but instead of just having her break it off and keeping her close at home, they kick her out of the house.
What? Wow. It was the 40s, I guess. Almost the 50s.
Like, go, you've shamed us.
Premarital sex. Ah.
Yeah. So she calls up, J. Albert, and he calls up Marguerite, who can offer her up a place to stay at his insistence, and he will pay her rent. But Marie-Ange is not happy there and eventually tries to board a train home, but when J. Albert finds out, he stops her by threatening to make a big scene before she can get on board. Throws a little tantrum anyway, and then takes her back to the house and steals her coat and gloves so she cannot go back out into the cold Canadian climate.
I was gonna say, how would that stop her? It's not proper for a lady to go outside with her gloves. So
I think this is winter.
Okay.
Oh God. So then a bit of a trigger warning for the next part, because he didn't just steal her gloves. He decided to bite her on the face.
What? What the
He
hell?
was like Mike Tyson looking at a cauliflower ear, and he was just like, nom, 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 nom. I'm so sorry. I don't know how else to deal with it. It's so weird. He didn't want her to be able to leave the house and look normal at all. He wanted her to have to not be afraid to leave.
Damn.
He's a fucking piece of work.
I was gonna say before, when you were talking about him like introducing her as his wife and then like giving her a cheap ring, I was gonna say that sounds very like emotionally abusive kind of thing, like at least a manipulative.
Yeah.
Like he's manipulating her.
Yeah, and she is much younger, and
yeah,
he's yeah,
she's 16, like fucking 16-year-old.
Well, exactly. Like, yeah, she's definitely like 17 when they met. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Oh, and now he's like actually abused her, like assaulted her.
Right? And this one's just supposed to be about planes.
Yeah, damn.
It's a crazy case.
You brought the true crime.
Yeah. Yeah. It gets so bizarre. That's why this one I was just like, what? Yeah, so like classic whole mistress affair situation, and motive for untold amount of crimes, and fucking fortunately. Because people just can't get a divorce. I think they said it was still illegal by the Roman Catholic Church at this time on one thing, but I was like, I don't fucking care. So his wife Rita, meanwhile, is at this point taking her daughter Lise and leaving and moving in with her mom, so good for her.
Yeah. Get out of there.
As fast as you can. While this is happening, J. Albert is desperately trying to hang on to Marie-Ange in any way that he can, including she's like walking to work one day when he confronts her with a gun.
Jesus. So
like, per the New York Post, who so politely let me know this was my last free article of the year or something. So I'm gonna fucking milk it. Quote, at about the same time, Marie-Ange, deserted Gay, returned to her parents and got a job at a waitress in a lower town restaurant. After being beset for so long by at least one too many women, Gay now found himself without any. As Marie-Ange was walking to work one evening in June, he accosted her, pulled a gun, and declared that if she didn't return to him, he'd shoot himself and maybe her too. She told him to leave her alone or she'd be late to work. I love it.
Good for her.
He persisted, but a policeman, hearing them arguing, walked up and Gay ran off. The policeman escorted Marie-Ange to the restaurant and hung around, waiting to see if Gay would show up again. He did, and was taken to municipal police headquarters at City Hall, where he was booked for attempted assault with a deadly weapon.
Good for that cop. That's actual police work, protecting a like public citizen properly.
Yeah, without
not
being
just
asked or called,
and like leaving and stuff, like staying with her in case he came back. That's awesome.
Exactly. And because he did.
Yeah, they actually got him.
So then it said Gay telephoned Mrs. Petra. She had married Petra by this time. I think in that article they did to give a lot more backstory on Marguerite and, you know, her hyphenated name.
Yeah.
She was born a Ruest and married a Petra. I don't know. She got him a lawyer who succeeded in having the charge reduced to one of carrying a gun illegally. The next morning, Gay was fined $25 and set free. Yay.
Damn, that was probably a lot back then.
Probably. Yeah, because, I have some money stuff later. 2 days later, she somehow agrees to meet with him after all of that and the face biting. And he informs her that she's going to be in trouble with the police, basically for her part in his arrest.
Oh, more manipulation.
And like, apparently he's like, because you besmirched my name, that my wife is going to call the cops on you and you're going to get arrested. And she just like believed it.
Little does she know the wife already pieced out of town with the kids, because
yeah, wife's like, fuck this noise. But that's
the
how
thing
he
is,
manipulates.
yeah, even if divorce isn't legal at this point, like, just fucking leave.
Yeah, be estranged.
Just get on a train and fuck out of town. They can't find you. It's the 40s. Like,
yeah, craziness and like violence and that is not the answer.
Yeah. Damn.
So that was how he manipulated Marie-Ange into hiding out in Montreal. And coincidentally, on the plane ride there, he was oddly silent and happened to be looking out the window a lot while holding one of his watches, like he was timing something. But Marie-Ange was quite airsick and nauseous and did not pay much attention to him at the time. Probably just sick of him, to be honest. But, so crazy, especially when, like, I didn't put any pictures on, but he's not attractive. They said he was like maybe kind of. And I'm like, I don't think he's anyway. Nothing to write home about. But he ends up moving back in with his wife Rita, begging for her forgiveness and to take him back so he can make it up to her. And he's love bombing her and all of this bullshit. Then in May of 1949, a news story caught his eye about a plane crash in the Philippines that killed 13 people. Rumor had it that a jealous husband was to blame in that one, so he got his thoughts rolling.
He's like, oh, I'm also a jealous husband.
Right? Who just, can't possibly actually divorce my fucking wife and go be with my mistress. And he thought about his 2 suitcases that he had stashed away last time he was in Baie-Comeau with Marie-Ange. They could be his excuse to have his wife fly up there to retrieve them. Or either that or she was going to, like, deliver some jewelry, whatever. Either way, there was jewelry involved that she was supposed to go get and or sell or whatever. Next, he enlisted the help of... I never did type out his fucking first name yet. Marguerite's brother. I want to say his first name is pronounced Jean-Roux, but it's got 2 fucking French accents in it, so it's French as fuck, and I could be saying that totally wrong. I'm like, wait, isn't that the French word for, like, generous? I'm so confused. Okay. Oh, he's generous, all right. He helps J. Albert out. He helps him out to make a time bomb.
Jeez.
So, I guess he was telling people the purpose of this was clearing some land he'd bought on the North Shore.
What?
To blow up some stumps or something. I don't know.
I don't...
Apparently that's what he told Marguerite, why she had to get him some dynamite.
It's the most effective way to cut down trees. Dynamite. What?
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, the New York Post article, I think I skimmed some of that because I found that today and it was like, And then they were talking about it in the shop, and someone walked in, and Roost was like, "Oh, this guy knows all about dynamite," like to this new customer, and like they were just so stupid and like, oh, like okay,
Nice.
subtle.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, for any of the favors he was getting from Marguerite, he was gonna forgive a $600 debt, so she was probably gonna do whatever he wanted.
Yeah, that was probably huge back then.
That's true. That does sound like smaller than what it would have been.
Yeah, if his fine was $25 for carrying a gun, $600 is probably insane.
So Rita gets ready to fly to Baie-Comeau to deliver some jewelry or whatever such bullshit story, and he had to stay behind. He meets Marguerite in the morning, gives her the package, flight takes off as a usual one does. All seems well. Until I get to my quote. Also, thank you, New York Post. My last free article. The flight, known as Flight 108, had started at 9 that morning in Montreal, and its ultimate destination was Seven Islands, a fishing village on the north shore of the St. Lawrence, opposite the Gaspé Peninsula and 300 miles from Quebec. Brackets, Seven Islands has since become a much more thriving community, for it is being made ready to serve as a port for iron ore extracted from the Ungava region to the north. That's a fun fact.
I don't know what any of that means, but okay.
There's iron in them there hills. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or islands. Yeah. Anyway, on board were 19 passengers, including 3 small children. Yeah, because the
I
families.
hate that, like I get he's probably just wanting to kill the wife, right? Like,
right?
in the plane crash and stuff, but like, why do you have to get people involved? Like, you're literally killing other people, like,
just to distance himself from the death, because everyone knew he was a cheating fucking bastard.
Jeez.
I shouldn't laugh. It's horrible. It's a horrible reason to take all those other lives. Yeah.
But the funny thing is he got inspired by a guy that they figured out doing the same or a similar thing in the Philippines. So like,
I think so.
He read an article where they figured out it was the jealous husband that caused the plane crash. Right. And then he's like, oh, I should also do the same thing. And maybe they won't figure out it's the jealous husband this time.
Suspicion won't fall on me as it did on him.
Yeah, it's like, what? It already didn't work once. You read it and you're like, I should do this.
Nobody that wants to kill their wife instead of just separating from them has any logic at all.
Yeah.
So, yes, on board were 19 passengers, including 3 small children, and a crew of 4, all of them Canadians, except for 3 men from New York, E. Tappan Stannard, Arthur D. Stork, and Russell J. Parker, who were actually the president-designate, and the vice president, respectively, of the Kennecott Copper Corporation. Which is like, don't they not usually do that? They don't do that with their president flies with like the vice president in case it goes down. And they don't let like the heir to the throne fly with, his dad and stuff, just in case the plane.
Yeah, but that sounds more like a company trip.
It was, yeah.
But yeah, it would be smarter for them not to travel together, but maybe it's harder to get like flights and separate bookings, or maybe they didn't think of that back then.
No, probably not. Which, yeah, I could get back. There's one more thing about that I should mention after. The next scheduled stop on Flight 108 was Baie-Comeau, a paper pulp center 220 miles northeast of Quebec. Several of the passengers planned to get off there, among them Mrs. J. Albert Gay, a 29-year-old Quebec housewife whose husband, a jewelry salesman, had asked her to pick up 2 suitcases containing rings and watches that had been put in storage there 3 weeks earlier, and to bring them back to Quebec. On occasion, Flight 108 also put down at Forestville, a lumber town halfway between Quebec and Baie-Comeau, but this was just a flag stop. 10 minutes out of Quebec, the pilot, Captain Pierre Lauren, who was a veteran of 7 years flying and whose wife was expecting a baby at any moment,
Ugh.
was advised by radio telephone from Ensign Lorette that he could skip Forestville. Lauren acknowledged receipt of the message. That was the last word ever heard from him. 10 minutes afterwards, at 10:45, while the plane was cruising serenely in fair weather, it was ripped by an explosion. The sound was audible to some people in and near that Soto Cochon, a fishing village 40 miles northeast of Quebec, and also to an officer aboard the St. Laurent, a Canada Steamship Line boat en route from Montreal to Bagotville. Those who heard it looked up and saw a puff of white smoke billow out of the left side of the airliner. Then the plane veered sharply to the north and within a few seconds went out of control and plummeted almost straight down onto the spruce and balsam-covered side of a steep hill called Cap Tourmente. Everybody on board was killed instantly. In the number of fatalities, the accident was the third worst in the history of Canadian aviation, and because of this, as well as the fact that 3 of the victims were prominent industrials from the United States, the incident attracted considerable attention. What made it crash? Mused a reporter for the Montreal Star. He added, referring to the pilot, the man who can best answer is among the dead.
Oh yeah, because they wouldn't have like the flight data recorder and black box, all that kind of stuff they have now that they can like dig up. Like they literally would be like, oh, smoke spilling out from it and it crashed. Like,
yeah,
that's all the information they'd have.
Kind of saw it, but who's to say at this point? Yeah. But because of the ties to the woman in black and like following that thread back, they could figure out all about him and his affair and all this, and it was painfully
investigating stuff was wild. Like,
right? You're like, how do they?
So much harder.
Oh yeah, like they know who died and stuff. But even sometimes during the research, I was going like, wait, did his daughter go on the trip too, or was it just the wife? But it was the daughter stayed home. But he killed entire families. Like,
yeah, he didn't care.
Oh no, what a crazy bastard. Oh, yeah. Okay, so here it came out on trial what had transpired that day. He had bought his wife a round trip ticket, to look good because you don't want to just buy it one way.
Yeah.
And he had taken out a $10,000 life insurance policy on his wife.
Oh my God, of course he did.
And it was worth like $30,000 in today's money or some shit. Yeah, crazy.
And it cost him 10 cents?
It cost him 50 cents or something, it
50 cents. Jesus.
Yeah.
You can't get anything for 50 cents anymore. You can't even get candy at a corner store for 50 cents anymore.
Penny candy, not a thing.
Fuck.
The package, I guess, had just been addressed to a made-up name, which was Alfred Plouffe.
Plouffe?
Yep.
Wow, that's fun.
Isn't it? And then, I guess the day of, he had walked around after the flight left and returned to his mother-in-law's house and retired to his room with a headache. Until she had started to get frantic phone calls about her daughter's possible death and asked Gay to go check and find out what happened. And he then took his daughter, their daughter, and went to the Chateau Frontenac, I think that's a hotel, and asked a girl on duty what had happened, where he then collapsed at the news and was so distraught they had to call in a priest that was
there. Fuck him.
Yeah, exactly. So, thankfully, he was found guilty on March 14th.
Yay!
Listen to me. Of premeditated murder.
Did it say when was the flight again? Like how long did it take them to figure this all out then, I guess?
The flight was September 9th.
Oh, okay, so a while.
Yeah, I couldn't find exactly when the trial started, but it must have started sometime in like March or a little bit earlier. And I thought I had it in here, but something I read said that he was arrested on September 23rd, which I was like, oh, according to one source, that was your birthday. So you got arrested on your birthday, you fucker. But yeah, the judge was all, you say, sir, may fuck off, and hanged to death on the 23rd of June, 1950. Hanged to death. They still did that. He confessed and gave up his co-conspirators as well, who were arrested during early June. The brother, Genereux Roost, went to trial in November. Claimed innocence on that whole murder plot. He's just helping to make a time bomb. Oops!
Yeah.
Wasn't me. And despite much concrete evidence, he had built the bomb, so he was guilty as charged and was also sentenced to death. And then Marguerite's trial began in March, only took 10 days. She was basically public enemy number one.
Really? Oh, she's the one that carried the bomb. Yeah. Sorry, I thought that was like the 17-year-old mistress, and I went, but why? They have two similar names.
We'll start with M, yeah. Yeah, and something said she was then dubbed by the press the Raven, but one source said that even her neighbors called her that because she dressed all in black. I don't know.
Oh.
Either way, it was, you, ma'am, can fuck off and head to the gallows. J.R. Bear was killed first. He was hanged on the 12th of January, 1951, as it actually happened. And then Genereux Roost went on the 25th of July, 1952. And finally, Marguerite Ruest Pitra, whatever, was hanged on the 9th of January, 1953. And she was actually the last woman to be executed in Canada, hopefully forever.
Jeez.
Now, that's it, but they couldn't have let the legend not live on without commemorating it in some sort of movie or media form, as know it happens. 1982, Roger Lemelin used the story of the crime in his novel Le Crime d'Ovid Plouffe. Which okay, the Plouffe name, it came up again. But he happened to be known as the creator of a series called La Famille Plouffe, which means the Plouffe family in French, which was broadcast by Radio Canada from 1953 to 1959. So I don't know if the Plouffe connection is just a coincidence or what.
Huh. But weird.
I also thought it was a funny word.
Yeah, Plouffe is great.
I know, it sounds like poof or when
and floof. You're so floofy. Floofy.
Or I don't know if this one's still offensive, but didn't they used to say like poofters for like gay slang with the Brits? I don't know.
Yeah.
Offensive. I probably shouldn't say it. Like, I don't want to say like the F word. But so this Lemelin guy, he'd also covered the story for Time magazine, and he had known Albert Gay personally and even attended Rita's funeral. And then in 1984, his novel was brought to the big screen in an adaptation by Denis Arcand, and the movie was called Le Crime d'Ovid Plouffe. God, that sounds weird. It's just the French word for crime, but it's pronounced like cream, isn't it?
Okay, I keep thinking of like milk.
I know when I'm saying it, I'm like, am I saying that right? Is it pronounced like cream, or should I be like le crime?
Just put la in front of everything. It makes it French.
Oh, I know my French is so rusty. I'm like, this sounds weird in English and French to my ears. It acted as a sequel to the film Les Plouffe, directed by Gilles Carte in 1981. and later adapted to a 6-episode miniseries. But of course, in that they made the character of the wife the cheater, because we can't have a horribly unlikable male protagonist, can we? People wouldn't want to watch that when he's a cheater and a killer.
So was she killing her husband then with the bomb?
No, he was getting cheated on, so that's why he killed her in that one. Instead of him being the cheater. I don't know. And finally, a novel was published by a Richard Donovan called Cape Tourmente in 2012, also inspired by the case.
Damn.
Yes. My horrible, horrible case.
That's crazy. So, like, the wife got on the plane, and then that lady took the bomb to the plane, but didn't get on the plane, right?
Exactly, because you could just have luggage go onto a plane.
Yeah.
And not have it checked, and that's why we don't leave bags unattended at airports now. You never want anyone to not know what's going on that damn plane.
Damn. Yeah, that's crazy.
I know, it's like one that I didn't really know about other than hearing on like one or two podcasts, like one podcast maybe.
Yeah, I've never heard any of that. What a conspiracy, just because, well, I guess if you can't divorce your wife, but like leave. Just leave.
Seriously though. My God. We don't need to have our own 9/11 just because of one fucking idiot. Like,
yeah.
Or 9/9.
Yeah.
All right. It's horrible. Thanks. We know you hate it. Bye.
Wow.
No, wait. What are we talking about next week?
We decided we are doing... Oh my God, what was it?
Oh, Ghost Towns.
Ghost Towns, that's what it is. I was like, we picked something.
I forgot to, and then I almost had to look. Yes, we did.
Yeah. Ghosty towns, abandoned towns.
Yes, a little different. I honestly think it might be somewhat lighter than, hearing about a bunch of people die in a plane crash, but we'll see. Depends what towns we cover, I guess.
Yeah, it depends.
Yeah.
But
hey, we just did Amazing Animals. It's not like
we had a few lighter episodes, I think.
Yeah.
Earlier this month, so I think you guys survived okay.
I think our mental health is fine right now. We're fine.
Yeah. We're fine.
All right. Well, we better go. So until next time, keep it cryptic.
Bye-bye. I'm like, I can't tell. There's like, I think they are little stones. I have a candle, and it had like a big, like white rock in it, and then it had like 3 small, like almost like amber looking ones, and I was like, this is a lemon scented candle, so I'm like, I don't know if these are the little yellow ones or rocks. So I took the white one out and I kept the other ones in. I'm like, I'm gonna see if they melt, and I can't really tell if they're melting or not. So I'm like, maybe I have to fish these out later.
That's cool. Sometimes
they're like the size of like peas, though. They're really tiny.
Could be little gemstones.
The white one was much bigger. Gordo wasn't for you to play with. Yeah, but the white one was like much bigger.
Oh, I think that was a way to hide things because, well, they did it once in Outlander when they're like, Jamie melted the candle to get out the gemstones in case that they'd been saving in case someone needed to travel through time. You like put them in a candle or whatever. I was like,
that's really cool.
Yeah, kind of smart.
If you could keep it like in the middle so nobody would know. Buddy, are you ready? It's not there. It's in my hand, okay?
Whenever we make the candles, the dipping method, they are pretty skinny. So it is kind of, I guess, you'd want to be able to get at it pretty fast. It probably wouldn't take, pretty too hard to get at. But you'd have to know it was there.
Yeah, you'd have to like know which one. That's pretty cool, though. Gordo, fuck off. I'm mad I even ever touched that thing. You in my presence. Because now you're trying to play with it. No, leave it alone. Fuck off, buddy. Stop it.
Just leave me alone. Gordo.
It's going in the drawer. Yeah.
It's going in the drawer? The drawer.
No, I put the rock in the drawer. He's left the room, though.
I mean, I can imagine cats like a drawer. They like lay inside of things.
Boxes, yeah.
Right? Squares you draw on the ground. Experiments people do. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Well, all our longtime listeners will definitely know that recording a podcast is not always easy.
No.
Nope. So you better believe, like, when we find something we like, that we're going to probably stick to it and not look for anything else. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I love Zencaster. When we tried it, we were like, okay, finally, I wanted to have the video, and it's up to 4K video, which is pretty effing cool. I can see every pore on Kelsey. No, I'm just kidding.
I hope not.
But it's great video and like just really easy on this one. So like once we stopped recording on our phones, I was like, yeah, this is the one for us. So even though sometimes our computers fuck up, it always comes through for us in the end, because we've never lost like a recording, knock on wood, and every time we've had to use it, it's just been really great and really easy, and everything's just recorded when we wanted it to, which is, it's a lot to ask for when you podcast as much as we do.
Yeah. It's nice that each of us has our own separate audio recording that you can download and edit. So it makes when one of us is doing something or has something, it's easy. You can edit that out even with the other person was talking, because you have two separate tracks that you can edit. Yeah, it's one of the reasons we love Zencaster. Definitely, it makes it a lot easier. And the audio quality is also a lot better than any of the other programs we tried using in the past.
Yes, it is the best. So go to Zencaster.com/pricing and use my code cryptic, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencaster paid plan.
We want you to have the same easy experience as we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story.
Keep it cryptic. Thank you for listening to Castles and Cryptids. We love all our listeners and appreciate every subscriber, every new review, every listen, rate, and download. Our music is by Kobe Off Air, and our cover art is by Antonio Garcia. We are also a proud member of Darkcast Network, where you can find the best and spookiest of all indie podcasts. Follow us on social media, where we are at Castles and Cryptids on mostly all of the things, now including TikTok. Check out our bonus content on Patreon: cryptid clashes, video minisodes of your hosts making asses of themselves, Ask Me Anything, quizzes, other special episodes, and more. Starting at just $2 a month, you can get 1 to 2 extra episodes, depending on your level. We produce, edit, and research everything ourselves, and any support you can lend helps us to keep it cryptic.